Sounds like a trip to Home Depot. So yeah, talk to you next week. WA when you say. Yeah, WA1EXA. I was looking up rooftop blanket type. I'm not sure what term we have here for that. I haven't been able to find it. Maybe it's different here. See it for removing ice, but it must come under a different term. Insulation. It looks like. Well, read up more on it. I always like to learn new things. WA1EXA. AA4FL. WA1EXA. I bet you it's something like tar paper. Something in that, either tar paper or the plastic that they use now, and then they kind of melt the plastic together so it makes one big, protective barrier type of thing. I'm guessing it's something like that. They just have another, they just call it by something else. Yeah, I see something referred to as a concrete curing blanket. I wonder if that's what it is. Well, Hilton can tell us more about it later, since the apartment building probably has a flat roof. Well, if there's anyone else here for the Medical Image Radio Council TV now, or anyone that has input about salt blankets, this is AA4FL here. We're having our net at the top of the hour here on the Climate Array. And right now we're just having early check-ins and also meet and greet with new friends. If you'd like to, go ahead and make your call to AA4FL. Yeah, say, I don't hear anything here. I don't know if you do. Our participants haven't been checking in very early. So here we really haven't had that much rain, Mark, in Palm Beach County. Last week when I was in Gainesville, I think I left Sunday to come here. The Florida Gators played Saturday night, and during the game, they're about 17 miles east. There was a really bad thunderstorm. They barely got any rain, but we were getting inches of rain and very heavy electrical for probably an hour before the game and an hour into the game. So it's a good thing the cell was, we took one for the team, I guess. It's a good thing. The cell was in Hawthorne and not in Gainesville. And they play tonight, so against Kentucky, 7 o'clock. So sounds like it's guaranteed to get a thunderstorm again tonight. WA1EXA, AA4FL. WA1EXA. Yeah, well, we are in the middle of it out here, although you would not know that. Just east of here, in the Providence area,
They got 4 inches of rain in a half hour, and it flooded I-91 or 95, I-95, which you can imagine what that did. On It was on Labor Day, so everybody trying to go home, going through Providence, whether it was 95 or 195 or 295 or Route 6 or anything, everything was down, and they had to wait for it to drain away. We got a little rain here. I think we got about anywhere from a half, quarter inch, a half inch over a whole day. But just east of here, also in Buzzards Bay, they got about 3 inches of rain. So it's really spotty, and it's also really dry out here still.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't get a little bit more of the rain. My family lives in Sharon, north, pretty close to Providence, Massachusetts. So I know the territory. But yeah, here in Florida, particularly the peninsula, you get storms that come across South Florida and don't even look at Orlando or Jacksonville. And then vice versa. The middle of the state, Tampa tends to just really get horrific thunderstorms coming in from the Gulf. Everything seems to clash over that area between the East Coast and the West Coast breeze. It's it can be pretty vivid at times. I remember when my wife went to school there in 1977, there was Led Zeppelin concert at the football stadium. We were on the 13th floor of the building watching the thunderstorm roll in, and that's the famous concert that had two or three songs in. They canceled it because of lightning, and everybody had already thrown their tickets down, and they were scrambling for a ticket stub so that they could get come back to the rescheduled concert. WA1EXA, AA4FL.
Hey, sort of. Oh, I've been in Florida for both vacations and for work, and gotten caught in some of those storms. It's like that way out in the Houston area. I lived for a year in Houston, and we worked on this top of this building, pretty tall building. It's all flat out there, and you can see the storms coming and getting closer and closer. Finally hits you, and it's downpour, and everything floods for a few minutes and then drains away. We've seen that. Yeah, but we're on some water restrictions here. You're not supposed to be watering lawns or washing cars. Um, we have enough water. It's mainly a pressure problem, and we're kind of dealing with that. Rain helped a little bit, but when it rains that hard for that short period, most of it runs off into the ocean. I guess there's a storm out there too. There's a hurricane out there supposed to give us high waves and rip currents. I don't think it's not your neck of the woods. I think it's all up here now. I think it's a northern storm. It's going out to sea, but we're going to get the effect of the waves. Uh, I'm wondering what we had a new person come in last week from Rhode Island, which would be the only other person that I know that's on this group from New England. I'm wondering if he suffered over there with the rains last week. Back to you. WMNX.
But QSL Mark, maybe Wayne will stop by if he's not busy with family here today and give us a report. Let us know how he fared. So I'm looking out my window here and seeing an iguana, a big iguana on the side of the canal. We have South Florida has a lot of uh, just that canals, drainage canals, water. I can't remember what they call it. They manage the waterways down here, and it goes up and down. But we do get quite a bit of wildlife back here, a lot of water birds. Get kind of spoiled in North Florida. We really have the natural springs and the natural lakes. And Here there's some kind of human touch on all of it. It's time for the net to start. This is AA4FL net control for the Medical Ambulance Radio Council TV net. Let me let it drop one and then we'll convene the net. I'm bringing the net to order. This is again AA4FL today operating from Delray Beach, Florida in Palm Beach County. And we'll be here for the next, probably the next two next sessions. So we had to head back to Alachua County in North Florida. And this is the Medical Ambulance Radio Council DVNet for members and friends of the Medical Ambulance Radio Council. You must be a member to participate. Please let us know if you're here, and even if you're not a member, check in. Will help us to tailor our conversation for the people that are here on the net, because sometimes when everyone here is a health provider, particularly pharmacists, dentists, physicians, we tend to nerd out at times. So we describe things a little bit differently with people from other backgrounds are on. This is a directed net. I'll be the net control, and I'll do the housekeeping information here before we take our continuing check-ins. I'm going to drop one. Thank you to the Quadnet Array for allowing us the technology and all the volunteering they do to make sure the technology is working so we can transcode our different digital modalities and have this highly valued net. We tend to be here every week, every 1500 UTC meeting time, and there's a lot of regulars that come by as part of their social life as well as their organization life. So thank you to everyone. Being that it's a Quadnet Array, though, again, they do transcode, and it's complicated, it's complex, and you need to follow certain guidelines to make sure that the transcoding occurs properly, such as making sure you don't tailgate the person in front of you who's ahead of you before you transmit after they unkey. And then, wait about 3 or 4 seconds before you key, but then also do the same. Wait at least a few seconds before you talk. That way, all the complexities and the synchronization that needs to occur will, and we'll find that our nets are more effective. Are there any stations here that are limited time or have emergency priority traffic? Go ahead and make your call now. Nothing heard quiet net here today. We couldn't have anything to do with college football because games haven't started yet, although some people may be watching pregame shows. Weekends are busy, the weather's nice, and as we get into winter, perhaps we'll have more and more people doing indoor activities instead of outdoor activities. So we do have a board of directors and officers meeting on Monday night on the Zoom session. Information has been distributed, but all members are invited to attend that as well, not for the Google listers. Regular check-ins now. I already have Mark, WA1 EXA, and QI2 BBQ. Any other check-ins, make your call to AA4SL. Gosh, Mark, it sounds like it's a quiet one. And we're just a few, two that are here actively. So, uh, don't know what you want to talk about. I'm sitting here in court's office, and as I said, I was viewing the canal in the back, and I was able to get all the ether copies. I'm getting ready to scan and digitize them. So, I started to work on the new ether. I've already written a few of the pages, and probably about three of the pages. So that's going to be done by the end of the month. I'm trying to get a jump on it here for the electronic release. We've had 4 or 5 people renew here lately in the last month. We're seem to be doing well as an organization when it comes to grand rounds. And unfortunately, at least at this time, we're not getting a real big following on the digital voice net. Back to you, Mark. WA1EXA, AA4SL.
A4FLWA when EXA. Yeah, well, sometimes this happens. You know, it's a beautiful weekend, probably most places, and like you said, the people are starting to go to games, especially on the East Coast. They'll be leaving about now to get to their tailgating, which is a big thing. I'm sure it's a big thing down there too. My son is follows Notre Dame. His father-in-law went there, so they have tickets, and that's kind of a real tradition. He's gone a number of times every year for the past, I don't know, 17, 18 years. He's been going a couple of times, and he tells me all about the 2-day tradition of going and the parties and the tailgating and even after the game, whether they win or lose, there's all kinds of things that they do between the parades and everything. Unfortunately, up here on the East Coast, up here on I should say, the Northeast Coast, football is not as prevalent as down in the South or the West or Midwest. Wait one. And while we try, the schools don't have that type of following to them. I guess the most would be BU and Syracuse maybe. Connecticut, my alma mater, is just trying to survive. They've gone through a series of coaches and everyone's trying to rebuild. So this one we just got last year, and he's still trying to rebuild. They've won one and lost one so far, and we'll see how it goes. You know, they had a couple of good years when they first started, when they first got into the Big East, and since they got out of that, they're independent now. So they're playing all kinds of different games on different teams. Um, so far, the teams they win are like Central Connecticut, which is even smaller school, and teams they lose are like I think they're playing Michigan. I don't expect much out of it though. Oh, back to you. See if there's someone else there. A4FLWA when the XA.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Don't forget Boston College. Also, teams that play in the ACC. They get to see a lot of the teams from the South come up to you. Are there any other stations that would like to check into the Mid-Atlantic Radio Council digital voice net? So make your calls net control AA4SL. In front of our PF. N5 RTF. AA4SL. Good morning to you, Jim. Well, if you could come along and join us And of course, you're from the area of college football, although your heart is a state over from Louisiana when it comes to football, which means that you didn't have to suffer the indignity of the blocked, blocked extra point when FSU beat LSU the other day. So I'm not sure how old this did. We were talking about that when my son-in-law was here, and we were talking about Lane Kiffin becoming coach. I thought he was on this. I don't think he went to Mississippi State. Well, whichever it is, he's in the state of Mississippi. He had been coaching Florida Atlantic for a while. And are there any other stations for check into the net make your call now? Okay, Jeff, it's quiet here. It's just the three of us now, and Wilson was here, but he had to go off on a construction project. Not a medical emergency, a house emergency. It's Mark, you and I, WA1EXA, and of course we'll let you pick up the conversation. We were talking about the net being quiet, and perhaps when it gets cooler later and there's less outdoor distractions, that perhaps we get some more activity. Go ahead, sir. Good morning. I'm on the computer on Blue TV, V-Star. I still haven't gotten my DMR hotspot working. I'm still struggling with it. I've got the functioning ones at the house or the condo, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy that card and then just make a clone of it and put it in the one here. I hope I haven't break the unit with all the lights coming on. It just I can't contact the MVVM software. So anyway, it's just the technical stuff we deal with every day. As far as football, Terry is a football fan, so I barely keep up with his sports in my bucket. Well, I'm sure you're making better use of your time. And sorry, the hotspot is one of the ways you have to spend your time. I have a few here that haven't been working, so I'm using the AMD stick on the computer. And yeah, the Blue TV too. So perhaps I'll get back to getting working on the hotspot. But for some reason, mine hasn't been functioning properly. I probably just need to update the software. It's been a long while since I have. But we'll get it done eventually. We're no for the conversation this week and last. I'm here fixing up the Delray South Florida place. The South is too much to do in two places. And more than likely, rather than rent it, this one's going to be sold, and then I'll be around the home QTH. And hopefully, it frees me up with less property management to do more radio management. N5RTF in the group, the Marco DD Net, AA4FL. Well, I can empathize. We've got three properties now that we're juggling. We're trying to move stuff from both the condo and the house out to the new place. And there's just too many attractions here, too many things to play with that we just haven't gotten it done, but we've got to in the next couple of months. When the weather gets cooler, of course, is when we get out down here in Louisiana and Florida. So maybe you have even less time available when the weather's not as hot in Philadelphia. QSO, understood, Chip. Are there any other stations I could check into the Medical Amateur Radio Cast and TV Net? Oh, not. Are you going to be available, Chip, on Monday evening for the board meeting, the Zoom board meeting? Over. I will. It's a little. It's a little late. When the time it starts, 8 o'clock Central. Yeah, QSL, we were trying to make it accessible to people on the West Coast. It's tough for South America and Europe in the middle of the night. It's not so bad for Asia, but we do have a board member in Japan. We don't have any board members in Europe. Or, yeah, I just have to get up so early. As long as I can get to bed by 9:30, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll plan on attending unless something changes significantly. And or yeah. Well, thank you, Chip, and thank you for being here today and for everything else you do for Marco. I was telling Mark I already started working on the ether, and I've got a lot of photographs of Warren. I just want to clarify. I think you had brought up his car last time. Did you say that his car was a Model A? Over. You'll have to check with him. Model A, Model T. I can't. I'm not really sophisticated enough to know the difference, but it was definitely a very very old Ford that he had running in just mint condition. Yeah, it looks great. It has a rumble seat, so I looked online at the Model A, and it looked like it. I certainly can ask him. I don't want to tip him off on the extent of the ether involving him, but I think everybody will, not that they don't always already have a wonderful image of him in their mind, but this is a part of his personality that unless there was that meeting in Orlando, they know about it. When I was there, he had two pieces of art. I mentioned it before. And he had just painted in July, so I've got a picture of him displaying one of those pieces of art. And plus his tower and his antenna and his QTH and like him and I have quite a few photos. There'll be at least a two-page spread. And we'll probably have links to the videos that he did in 2018 at the annual meeting in Orlando. N5RTF, this is AA Flesh on the Medical Image Radio Council TV. Yes, it's probably been 20 years since I went for a ride in it, and I not visual recall, so not that great to begin with. I should have taken a picture. Then it'd be pretty easy to patch it up. But yeah, what a remarkable person. Renaissance man by anybody's standards. Inside Arcana. Yes, he is. And I'm fortunate to have a 95-year-old cousin here in South Florida who's similarly just starting to show. Um, I'm going to go see him March took fall about 2 3 weeks ago. And hit the back of her head pretty hard. And they admitted her for 3 days. But Saturday, actually, having post-concussion symptoms. She sounded better today. But this lady was a teacher. And in her 90s still, she was educating the children on movie sets. Where they would come in here to Florida to do movies and films, and they were still using her as an educator. So turn it back to Mark, WA1EXA. Go ahead, Mark.
At WA1EXA. I believe the Model Ts did not have rumble seats. I believe they had Model A's. I think in listening to other conversations, I believe they said that he had a Model A, which would make sense. Model Ts, I don't remember ever seeing a rumble seat in any of those unless somebody built it special. So that's my 2 cents on that. I was wondering, do you guys ever hear anything about the release of the new booster for COVID? We've been asking up here, and everybody's telling me they're sitting and waiting, but they haven't got it yet. I'm wondering if you had heard anything about a release date. And if you have any information, let me know. Back to you, Jay. WA1EXA.
WA1EXA AA45. I hadn't heard, and I also hadn't heard the strategy for giving it. They're going to focus on seniors first to make sure they're most vulnerable. I did hear or read that if you had Omicron in the last 3 months, you shouldn't get the booster. You don't need to get the booster. So after the 3 months post-infection had occurred. I know a lot of individuals have been infected in the last month or two, so I'm sure they'll be passing along additional information when it's released for consumption. I see seniors signing up for booster shots. Particularly, I mentioned it last week. My father-in-law's place. I told them to wait because I asked the staff. They had no idea which booster it was going to be. I wouldn't want to come along and get the old booster when the other ones could be available a week or two later. WA1EXA AA45.
Okay, WA1EXA. Yeah, it's about what I've been doing. My wife and I have been waiting. We both came down with Omicron, but it was back in March or February. So we last weekend, our daughter who was here, our granddaughter who was here, came down with Omicron when she got home, but we tested negative, so I guess we're okay. Um, so we're just waiting. Anyway, and I'm waiting for the ether because both myself and my wife look toward look toward getting that spider every month. She really likes to read. She's a pharmacist also. She's still active. I'm not, but she is, and so she always likes to read the the ether and find out what we're talking about. So she gives you a thumbs up on it. Back to you. WA1EXA.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'm glad she enjoys it. This month we're going to have something about monkeypox and polio. I kind of try not to jump the gun and write it too early. That'll probably be the last thing we write because things can change so much in a week or two. And the advantage of this particular electronic edition is you can do it at the last minute. I mean, you want to have it peer reviewed, but you can certainly do that in a few days. So you can finish up the writing on September 25th and have it emailed to everybody on the first, and still have an opportunity to update it if it's needed, whereas the written edition doesn't. So there'll be some scientific information there. I've gotten a few contributions from other members, but for me, since this is a color edition and it's distributed electronically, I'm going to try to emphasize the people of Marco and color photographs wherever possible. We have a new scholarship where it will be in there, as well as a member of family that's going to be there in color. So nice to have that balance. It's amazing when I was meeting with Warren, he is so impressed with the editions, the electronic editions, but yet I am more impressed with his traditional editions. So having the two together certainly is a plus plus. N5RTS, AA4S, I'll go ahead, Jim. Nothing much to add. I'm not having any more boosters because of the reaction that I had to the second vaccination. Plus, COVID is pretty much dying out here. I've had a few patients that have had it, had mild cases, no problem. They were out for a few days, or they had one mild problem. We did have a friend that has pancreatitis, and she caught COVID, and I think it triggered an acute episode of pancreatitis. So that I'm just wondering if anybody else is saying that. In fact, RCS. Well, I haven't. Perhaps Mark can comment if he has any friends or family that had. So, Chip, you're saying that other than the one person with pancreatitis, there's been nobody that's had any long haul symptoms in your family of patients and family and friends, over? I've got a few patients that have slowed down some, but they, everybody's 3 years older than when COVID started. So, how much is ordinary aging, and how much is COVID. The one patient that I had that had just classic COVID encephalitis took about 6 months to clear to a point where she could drive and manage her finances again. But that's rare. So I just haven't seen a whole lot of what people might call long haul. 2-5 here. She was home. Are there any other stations that are monitoring, that are listening, that would like to check in here to the Medical Outreach Radio Council TV.net and be involved in the conversation, or just let us know that you're listening? If so, go ahead and make your calls at Net Control. Myself, AA4S, I'll go ahead. Okay, nothing else heard. Well, I had a long day yesterday. It was a funeral and family member. My son-in-law came in and was up late last night. Got him back on the road today, so not happy with this like that by any means. I'd rather it be an active net, but on the other hand, it's opportunistic for me to get some rest. So I am going to let the net close early and look forward to seeing everybody next week. And hopefully I'll have a little more energy, although I'm going to be sweating it this week because they're doing plastering in the house now that they've got all my mom's wallpaper off. And they need to shut off the air conditioning in these 90-degree heat days and open the windows. So I got a fan out here and a bunch of ice cubes. I don't know what else I can do. I probably feel like I'm back in T33A in Bonneville. Because they probably had more of a breeze in Bonneville. Sounds great, everybody. Have a great week. And I'll let either of you, if you have a final transmission, just do so before we close the net. This is AA4SO. Go ahead.
A4FL and just WA Winnie XA. Okay, 73 to both of us, both of you. We'll talk to you next week. And look forward to the ether. WA Winnie XA clear.
Same here. Hope everyone has a good week. I hope to have all the technology working again by next week. The problem, as I said before, with talking on V-Star is that my voice is not recorded. So there's going to be gaps in the archive. So I I thought I might run the software on my Raspberry Pi, which is sitting next to me, and is fully capable of doing it, but I realized I had not loaded the Markov settings into the translator, and that takes too long to render test, so I just pretty much had to use the Windows machine again. So next week should be better. N5 RTX clear. Have a good one. Same to you, Jeff. Thanks for being here. And Warren, Hilton did record, has a YouTube stream going, so you'll be able to have your participation chronicled in that stream. 7-3, have a great week, both of you. And this is AA4FL, showing appreciation to the Quadnet Array for the transcoding, for all the volunteers that it takes to keep everything working, and calling the net to a close the Medical Image Radio Council TV net. Picking up next Saturday again at 1500 UTC. 730.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Is there a Marco Digital voicemail today?